Nobel Prize Dialogues with 3 economic sciences laureates, Christopher Pissarides, Joseph Stiglitz and Abhijit Banerje, as well as physics laureate Brian Schmidt and Peace Prize laureate Muhammad Yunus. The Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Pretoria, Professor Tawana Kupe, joins me now. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News, Professor. So it's the first time the African continent hosts an event like this. Why the mix of those economic laureates, heads of banks, as well as UP people and others?
Good afternoon, Zinga, and good afternoon to your viewers. Well, the mix was very deliberate. The question of the future of work is not an economics issue only. It's an issue that affects that should be understood from multiple perspectives, including science, technology, and innovation, as well as also understanding human behavior and the impacts on human behavior. We at the University of Pretoria consider ourselves what we call a transdisciplinary university. In other words, in understanding any social, political, economic phenomena, we don't use the single lens of single disciplines. So in other words, you can say we don't think economics is just for economists, or economics is too important to be left to economists.
Okay. The event was virtual, obviously because of COVID-19. So how is the nature of working changing because of the pandemic now and going forward?
Well, yes, I mean, the dialogue would preferably should have been physical with the laureates at our Future Africa Institute and campus. But of course, the pandemic has disrupted, upended everything. But also what has happened in that disrupted space, we've learned something. We've learned that we can actually leverage the technologies to do much more than we did in the past. In other words, if, for example, the laureates had to come here, you might have found only 1 or 2 coming over. But now we could have 3. And also they could be there for an elongated period over the 4 or 5 hours that we ran the dialogue yesterday, because then they could get on with their work at different points or after the dialogues. And also we've learned as universities also that we can actually accelerate the online section or component of our offerings. I'm using my language carefully because at the University of Pretoria, we believe in blended or hybrid teaching and learning. Contact is important. Education is not about sitting behind Zoom, but online is also important in that it provides greater access, delivers even faster if you have the technology, of course. And secondly, also complementing teaching modes is the future.
Mm-hmm. You've spoken about the pros of having this as a hybrid kind of event with some people in Pretoria and the rest of the participants around the world. When it comes to technology and the impact that it can have, what unique challenges and opportunities are there for the future of work on the continent?
Well, the first challenge, of course, is you've got to have the infrastructure. You have to have broadband access available to all, affordable to all, and a connected society if you need. Without that, of course, then you have a huge challenge of some people not being able to participate, and also you have the challenge of the danger or risk of widening inequality in a society like South Africa and the African continent, and also discriminating against others. But the opportunities are also good. Supposing you actually invest in the infrastructure that requires government, the public sector, philanthropic organizations, then you can leverage quite a number of things. I mean, shortest distances, it connects you globally, as you saw with our dialogue yesterday, and also reduce the need for people to have a commute to work long distances every day, polluting the environment and so on. But also teaches people new skills, virtual collaborative skills, ability to interact, and all of those things that in a sense make up the modern economy, and also enables people to take advantage of the new jobs that have emerged, driven by technology and these applications, artificial intelligence, robotics, Internet of Things, and so on. We can do much more, but also we need to be, if you like, on an equalizing platform. The technology needs to be an enabler and equalizer, and not one that is characterized by a digital divide that excludes.
All right, what insights came about the current labour market and where it's going with all those brilliant minds sitting there for those hours?
Well, a number of points. I hope you have 2 hours for me for this interview.
No, we don't.
But quickly, the following. Of course, the structural issues that we know, especially in South Africa, that contribute to high levels of unemployment, especially for young people. And also an economy whose basis, and that's not just the South African economy, the African continent, where what technologies are being used are outdated and becoming very quickly obsolete. So the real danger is that you have people being replaced by the new technologies. So what we say there is that, particularly given these are laureates, one of the laureates, for example, Brian Schmidt, is a vice chancellor like myself. What is the role of universities in educating people and skilling people in the context of changing economies and the changing nature of work, and also the new emerging world of work? It means massive curriculum transformation. It means partnerships with government, industry, and the private sector. It means reskilling people and also giving them the skill, most important, to be able to know how to learn, to unlearn, and to relearn, so that as changes accelerate, people actually have the skills that will enable them to have lifelong learning and to be able to adapt and be flexible to new changes. So in a nutshell, that was it. And of course, there was also a debate, and there was a fierce debate between Muhammad Yunus, the Peace Prize winner, who's well known for microfinancing, and Abhijit Banerje, who has won a Nobel Prize on employment, over whether entrepreneurship is more important than getting a job. I believe it's a mix of the two. So entrepreneurship will play a role because new technologies also allow people to create those kinds of innovative jobs and businesses that are able to make them employers rather than employees, and so on and so forth.
Okay, very briefly, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina from the African Bank Development Group said in that forum that the labor market is set to boom to over 2 billion people. He spoke about half of those who are going to be youth. In an African context, how will our challenging unemployment figures adapt to this or deal with this?
So I think he was talking about, of course, the demographic dividend that the continent experiences. So I think actually is a fundamental transformation, not just of the structural barriers in our economies, but also a reimagined education system that strikes the right balance between theoretical knowledge and its applicability and skills. And it does so by a number of things, still offering reformed, transformed qualifications, right? Relevant contextually to the labor market, by giving a person holistic education, not just immediate skills that might move on, but also micro credentials, not necessarily full degree programs, but something layered over them or before them that can give people entry-level skills as they continue to learn and relearn.
Professor Tawana Kupe, the Vice Chancellor and Principal of the University of Pretoria, thanks so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon.